Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yadi and this is Yadi Angel Art. So today I'm going to be talking about how to use references, which in turn will help improve your art. And I'm going to share some of my top posing sites and resources. So let's get started. My first tip for using references would be to use multiple images. You could use one for posing, another one for clothing, and then even like a third one for lighting. I feel like for me, this sort of method has really helped me fuel creativity in a lot of different ways. You'll see in the painting that I'll be doing today that I'll be pulling my outfits and lighting from several different resources. And I'll include the references I'm using today in the description below. Another thing that you could try for using references would be try drawing from memory. So if you find a reference that you like, first sketch that reference and then put the reference away, turn off your computer or something, and try to re-sketch that reference without looking at it. This would be a great way to incorporate that reference more into your style and to also sort of see what you're learning from studying this reference. I feel like this next tip is mentioned often in these types of videos, but it's always a good idea to say it again for anybody who hasn't heard it or for anybody who might need a reminder. If you're sharing any art studies that you've done on social media, it's really important that you always link to the original image and that you're very explicit and open about this being a study. Something else that I do with using references is to take the reference photos yourself. That's a really helpful way to avoid copyright. And sometimes I have a very specific reference in my mind and I can't find that pose anywhere, or I want the hand to do a very certain thing and I can't find that anywhere. So I'll just take the photos myself, and that really saves me from all the trouble of having to research. And finally, whenever possible, use real life references instead of photo references. Photo references are really helpful and they're great because you can look at them at any time, anywhere, but they are not the same as studying something from real life. There's just something about real life that sort of softens the lighting in a certain way that photos can't always capture. It's just always a good idea, I think, to study using both methods. With that said, I thought I'd share with you guys some of my favorite posing sites and resources. So right up front, you may have noticed from what I used earlier this video for my references, my main source of reference images is Pinterest and sometimes Google. So that's where I tend to go when I'm looking for a very specific pose. So even though I tend to go to Pinterest and Google for specific poses, I also have other sites that I like to go to study different images. Now, when I looked through all of these websites, I tried to judge them based on the resources they have to offer, whether these resources were free, and what the website looks like on somebody's phone. The readability of the website has to be just as good on somebody's phone as it is on the desktop. So I tried to keep that in mind when I was creating this list for you guys. So my first website that I want to share with you is called Line of Action. The reason I really like it is because it had a lot of different resources to offer. They have this learn section where you click through and they have it's like a blog, and they have some tips and tricks in different articles, and you can just scroll through and skim through some of the stuff. It's really useful. I also felt like it had good different categories to pick from. I also really like that they have a discuss section where you could go and try and get critiques. Now, unfortunately, that feature is only available if you have a membership with them, but I did check their membership and their lowest price is $1.49 a month, which isn't terrible. So if somebody were interested in that, that's definitely an avenue you could take. My next website is called Sketch Daily. And the reason I liked them was because it was a lot simpler. It's kind of the opposite of Line of Action in that when you log on, it just takes you straight to the categories for sketching and you just very quickly click through. If somebody didn't have a lot of time and just felt like doing something really quick before starting their day, this would be a really great site for that. Ooh, I also really liked that they had a vegetation category. I've personally been interested in drawing more flowers lately. I think they're really fun to paint, so that really caught my attention. My next website is called Character Design References. They are a really cool resource for illustration and animation, but they also have this really interesting website. If you hop on over to the Visual Library tab, it'll take you to this extensive collection of artists' references. It's not photography with live models, it's more so references of what different artists have made for each category. I felt like their collection was really detailed and broken up very well, and it's a good resource to have as supplementary references and tips. I do not suggest using this source as a replacement for life drawing references. I still personally feel that it's important to practice drawing from life, but this is a really, really cool resource to have on the side of your normal life drawing sketches. The next two resources that I've got are a little unconventional or a little bit different than what I'm used to for posing sites, but I thought they were really, really cool. This next one is a channel. It's called, I'm probably gonna butcher this, it's called Crocus Cafe, and the goal of this channel is to offer real life drawing references in the tradition of life drawing classes. What this means is that their models are nude, so they recommend, and I also suggest, that you only go on to this if you're 18 years or older. And they are technically on YouTube, but you get the full extent of the videos on Vimeo. And honestly, life drawing classes cost hundreds of dollars just to go to one, and they're not everywhere. So I think it's really amazing that they're offering this sort of thing for free. So my final website that I'm suggesting is called Folio, and technically this one isn't a posing site. It's more so a website with models' portfolios, but I found this website to be a really great resource for references, specifically for figure references. I felt like these pictures all had really good lighting. Sometimes, if you look on Pinterest, you'll find these images that have really stark lighting and it's hard to see all of the features on the model's face. And that's an artistic choice, but it's not a great choice for a reference picture. So I felt like all of these images were really great for references. And if you click on one of the models' face, it shows you an extensive list of images that she's got. So I also felt that this was a great reference source for clothing. So that's all of the sources I'm going to talk about today. There are so many more resources out there. If you just search posing website, you can find a lot of others. These were just my favorite from the ones I've found, but I also have a few that didn't make the cut. I just didn't have enough time to go over it, and I will include this list and the others in the description down below. Now, on to the piece for today. This week has been interesting for this piece. So I first want to talk about what my inspiration was for this piece. I knew that I wanted to do a video on references, so I was thinking of what references to find as inspiration, and last week I went apple and pumpkin picking, and so I've had pumpkin patches on my mind, and I know a lot of people take photos posing with pumpkins, so I kind of got to thinking, well, like, what would a witch do if she was posing with pumpkins? It's like fall, I don't know. So that's how I thought of the theme for this image, and you saw I went scrolling through Pinterest and I picked some of my favorite things and I put them together for this. Now, the reason that this week has been so interesting for this piece was because originally this painting was supposed to be traditional, but there were some issues with the masking fluid, and after I painted the whole background and waited for it all to dry, I tried to take the masking fluid off and it kind of ripped up the entire paper. So eventually I just ran out of time and decided that I could do this digitally too. Now, maybe for next week's video, I can paint this piece traditionally and we can compare my digital and traditional style. Thank you so much for sticking around to this point, and let me know if you'd like to see me paint her traditionally in the next video. If you had fun with me today, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.